everyone, this is Pico Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video covering some of my most favourite films ever, and this edition we will focus on the immense, vivid, historical epic Braveheart. Released in May 24th, 1995, it stars Mel Gibson, who also directed the movie, Sophie Marceau, Patrick McGoohan, Brendan Gleeson and Catherine McCormack. And the setup within Braveheart is that we are put in 13th century Scotland, which has been invaded and conquered by English King Edward Longshanks, who is a ruthless tyrant and executes many Scottish nobles and villagers throughout his reign. Now the story follows William Wallace, played by Mel Gibson, who returns to Scotland after going away on a pilgrimage, and we see at the beginning of the movie as a young child he really witnesses the brutal horrors and murders of the Scottish people before going away. When he returns to the land, he falls in love with a woman named Muireann and marries her in secret, but tragically Muireann is captured and murdered by English soldiers. Wallace quickly attains vengeance for his wife's murder and shortly after begins to lead a rebellion against the English rule and Longshanks. Now, simply put, for me, Braveheart is one of the most epic films I've ever seen. I've always been a massive fan of historical epics that are full of powerful stories with compelling characters. Overall, in history, we'll look at the best of them when we look at the likes of Ben-Hur, Spartacus, Fall of the Roman Empire and El Cid, and Braveheart really typifies all of these great qualities that we've seen within those movies. It's truly a movie that has everything. We have great story, we have awe-inspiring visual scope, we have romanticism, we have spectacle, we have extraordinary battle scenes and great performances from the cast of actors. There's such an elevated level of savagery and intensity throughout this movie, and it also reaches high levels of emotion and passion as well. This is a movie that will really captivate you, will really pull at your heartstrings and elicit a lot of feelings and reactions. There's a real majesty and mythical awe, and in many ways it's presented on much more of a mythical legend about William Wallace, and this is really true movie making on an epic level. There are so many great aspects towards this movie, but we simply have to talk about the battle sequences, the way that they are set up, literally throwing you into the battle. We have thunderous sequences of swords and spears clashing together. We see quite brutal scenes of people getting decapitated and limbs getting thrown off. They really didn't hold back in terms of trying to visualize the intense savagery throughout all of these battles. This is of course in an era where we were much in that early phase of seeing CGI introduced with teen movies in the early 90s, so it's so refreshing to see battle scenes free of CGI where we have real stunts and horses and real weapons, and it just adds that immersive cinematic experience. This is emphasised most in the centrepiece battle, and that is the Battle of Stirling, one of the greatest battles ever staged within all cinema. We lead of course with the iconic line by Wallace, "They may take our lives but they will never take our freedom." Such an iconic piece within this movie. And then we have the massive slow-mo charge of both the English and Scottish soldiers. We have that iconic scene as the English soldiers run towards the Scottish soldiers. They have Wallace at there saying hold, hold, and then they put out their spears together to trap them in, and then all carnage ensues, and it's a magnificent spectacle, really truly to behold. And when you look back, you really marvel at how they were able to visually create such a massive scale of battle along this, and it's very realistic. They really make sure that nothing is too over the top, too out of the realms of possibility. Just magnificent, and a great throwback to how you would really stage huge battle sequences. We also talk about the cast performances, and in a lead role Mel Gibson is very convincing and vivid as Wallace, completely determined, unflappable in his quest to free his people and carry out his vengeance. He just carries his films so well, and whatever you think about Mel Gibson regarding about him personally or his image, you can't deny he is a very strong and compelling actor, and here as Wallace he's very intense and he's so ideal for this role, and he really carries the film so much throughout its 3-hour near running time. Almost every bit as significant for me is the role by Patrick McGoohan as Longshanks. This is an outstanding villain within this story. He's very cold, calculating and ruthless. There's no attempt to sympathise him or try to understand his methods or why he does what he does. This is a character that you can take very seriously. He too has some great lines overall. There's that classic line when he says, "The problem with Scotland is that it's full of Scots," and he plays it with such an articulate intelligence, a very savage intelligence, I will say. It's a brilliant performance, I think, from Patrick McGoohan. And again, as well as having the heroic role played by Mel Gibson, if you also have a great villain within the story, it just makes the film overall much more compelling. I also liked Brendan Gleeson as Hamish. This is Wallace's best friend, and he's very loyal to Wallace throughout the whole movie. He has a very bear-like presence overall, and it's another good supporting role for Brendan Gleeson. I like him, and he's very much of a versatile actor. If you go through all of the films that he's performed throughout his career, he can pretty much play any typical supporting role, and he's a very good ground and presence, I think, to the very much of the fire personality that we see from Wallace. The main female lead in this film is Sophie Marceau as Isabella. She is the French princess who is married to Longshanks' son, who is very cowardly in comparison to Longshanks, and she is initially sent to negotiate terms with Wallace, but she eventually begins a romantic relationship with him, and I think overall it's a very decent performance from limited screen time that she has within the film. Angus McFadden is also good as Robert the Bruce, who Wallace looks to aid him in his rebellion charge. And Robert the Bruce is very much of a conflicted character, because on the one hand he's very enamoured and drawn into the passion and the fire from Wallace's character, but at the same time, under the guise of his father, who is a leper, he has to gauge as to what's best for him as a leader, and also what's best for the land of Scotland as well. And we see him gain much more resolve as the movie progresses throughout, and I think it's a very good performance from Angus McFadden. Now, when talking of Braveheart, we can talk about the great intense action and the performances, but without doubt the special ingredient within this movie is the incredible musical score by James Horner. It is without question one of the greatest musical scores in movie history. When we talk about musical scores, they really have to convey and elevate the emotion in terms of the acting and the scenes that we see throughout the movie, and this does it in spades. You will truly be moved by some of the multiple scenes in which the music accompanies. This includes when Wallace and Marion get married for the first time in secret. I just love all of the various tones throughout this particular sequence. The final climax of the Stirling battle, where we see the warriors emerge victorious. We have that vivid scene of Mel Gibson's Wallace throwing a sword in the air and really shouting, and having all the warriors shout along with him. Just really intense stuff. Later on, without spoiling too much, when Wallace finds himself betrayed, again just really hits you hard and really underscores the importance of that particular sequence within the movie. Another great sequence is when Wallace is acknowledged after winning the first major battle, and we see him getting acknowledged that he is a major force within this rebellion. And then of course we have the climatic scenes. Again, I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but really the last 2 to 3 scenes of this movie, they are hit you with so much weight, so much impact, and the musical score is fantastic in all of this, and that is because James Horner is an incredible composer, and it gets to the point, particularly at the climactic part of the movie, where it will bring tears to your eyes. It is that strong of a musical score. So just a great, massive achievement from James Horner, and really I think one of the greatest musical scores of all time within movies. So if I had to give an overall score for Braveheart, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10. As I mentioned before at the start of this review, it has everything from story, from characters, to music, to emotion, to intensity, to gravitas. It really is one of the greatest examples of a historical epic that I've certainly seen within my lifetime. So a magnificent film. So when we look at the overall box office release of Braveheart, it was a very good financial success. On a budget of 65 to 70 million, it grossed over 213.2 million at the box office. Now, this success was also coupled with the fact that it won 5 Oscars, and this included Best Picture, Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Makeup, and Best Sound and Effects Editing, and it's well deserved overall, I think, and that was very much of a competitive year when you also had the likes of Apollo 13 and The Usual Suspects in that year as well, and it managed to beat them overall. And it was also a major achievement for Mel Gibson, giving him major clout within the industry, both now as a director and an actor, and this really boosted his status. He was already a certified leading actor because we also refer to him for the likes of the Lethal Weapon and the Mad Max movies as well. So a major achievement for Mel Gibson. So just going back to it, just a massive achievement for Braveheart, and it was really before we saw a major boom in historical epics at the time, fueled by Gladiator, directed by Ridley Scott later on in 2000, and along the likes of Last Samurai and Troy and Kingdom of Heaven as well. But Braveheart really preceded that, and I just think it's a major movie. You can really feel the passion and the vivid nature overall, and as I said before, so many scenes that will really move you as a viewer, particularly those final couple of scenes overall, and a truly monumental historical epic in my eyes, and one of the greatest films I think of the 1990s overall. So those are my thoughts and feelings and review on Braveheart. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you feel about it? Do you think its status has revered over the years post its release? Do you think we have yet to see another historical epic? Certainly within the last 5 to 10 years of movies, because we've been so much focused on the superhero genre. And would you like to see a return to this type of film overall? If there are any other movies that you feel that deserve more recognition and acknowledgement post their release, please let me know in the comments below, and if I've seen them, I will provide a review as well. Please also hit those like, subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality content and movie reviews in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves on a truly magnificent, awe-inspiring historical epic in Braveheart. That's it for now. Stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.